Yeah. So, couple of things to go over. This might be the first time you guys are talking on voice with your sub team, so I think it'd be a good idea to just go around and introduce yourself, and I guess just talk about how your day's going, if you've done anything. So I guess I'll start. Hi, I'm Zane. In case I hope you know me by now. Um, my day has been okay. Took the train over to Rutgers. My class got canceled, so I went all the way to the lab for no reason. Just been in the library since, relaxing. Um, what about you, Ananya? Why don't you introduce yourself and talk about your day?
Hi guys, I'm Ananya. My day's been interesting. So we had school open on President's Day because we ran out of snow days, and since I had a hackathon all weekend, I didn't finish any of my homework and I didn't get any sleep. So today, my friends caught me snoring in English class. It was great.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Um, hopefully you get some sleep tonight. Sleep is important. Okay. Yeah. Antonio, why don't you go next?
Sorry to hear that, Nanya. My day wasn't as bad as yours, but I also overslept my first class, and then I was late for my second class. I guess Deborah, you're next.
Okay. Hi, I'm Deborah, and my day has been dull. It hasn't been bad, but it hasn't really been good either. I had this audio files that I was supposed to download that was sent to me 100 times, but for some reason will not download, and it's due tomorrow, so that's great. And the entire district is waiting on those.
Unfortunate.
Way.
Okay, that sucks. Had pretty sucky days. Let's try and get through this. Hopefully get some sleep after. And yeah, last but not least, Siobhan.
Hi, I'm Shivam. My day was also, I guess, pretty uneventful. Um, I'm starting a cybersecurity competition with a couple of my friends, so we needed to flesh out some details for that, and that took a while. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I had the day off, so unlike Ananya, I was chilling at home. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. Um, thanks for sharing, everyone. Um, yeah. Because from here we can get into it. So there are two main things I want to go over. One is pretty quick. One is a lot longer. I'll start with the quick thing. So for STEM month, um, we have to make a 60-second TikTok style video, kind of summarizing our research for like the general populace. I am slightly creatively, what's the word? I'm not good at creative stuff, basically. So this is something. It's supposed to be a team effort, anyways. Basically, I'll post the instructions in the chat. One sec. STEM month. Here we go. This is the email I got sent. Basically, next Monday we have to make a 60-second TikTok style project, summarizing our research, um, all this stuff here. So basically, we'll talk more about this on the weekend. But I guess over the course of the week, and even over the course of this call, if you have any ideas for how we could do all this, or how we can make a video, feel free to make a TikTok channel right now. I just made a TikTok channel in the Discord. Feel free to post it there or write it down. It'll be very much appreciated. And then over the weekend, we'll talk more about it. So yeah. Um, any questions on this?
We have to get all of us into 60 seconds.
Yeah, I think we could just record ourselves and stitch each other together. I don't think we actually have to be together in person, but we'll figure something out.
If we wanna actually win it, it's gotta have humor in it. It's gotta make someone laugh because if it doesn't, it's not really gonna get considered. I'm sorry,
I
but
didn't even think
yeah,
of it
it
being
has to have
fun.
some humor.
I didn't even think of it being funny. I think our research is cool. I have no idea. I think it's boring as hell though. Um, uh, I didn't even think of humor. So yeah, if you could think of ways to make this funny, by all means, go ahead. I'll support you as much as I can in terms of editing and stuff. But yeah, and
Fortunately for us, we live in a very cringy society.
hey, true. Um, Figure something out. Hopefully, if you have any cringy ideas, feel free to write them down. anything is appreciated at this point because I can't come up with anything. Yeah. And in general, if you guys have any questions or anything, just feel free to interrupt me. I don't care. Oops. So yeah. So if there's nothing else on this topic, I guess we can jump into our research discussion. Cool. So what I wanted to, this part of our discussion more broadly, I wanted to talk about breaking down large programming tasks into smaller parts. Reason being, so when you're coding on your own, for most, if not all assignments, you're probably just gonna have an idea of what to do, write a script start to finish, maybe use like a function here and there, maybe some loops, and that's pretty easy, you know, less than 50 lines, maybe 100 lines if you're ambitious. It's fairly linear. But when you're working on larger teams, and we're going to be working on Google Colab, it doesn't really make sense to have everyone kind of working on the same line at the same time. If we have like a project that can be split up into like 10 different parts, so like maybe getting the data and then processing the data and then visualizing the data and then doing some calculations. It doesn't make sense for everyone to kind of be like on step one, then everyone on step two. What makes more sense is to break that down into a couple of, I guess, manageable chunks and then have different groups working on different parts at the same time. And that way it goes a lot quicker. And this isn't just something that I'm kind of imposing on you guys regularly. This is like a industry standard. If you talk to people who work in software engineering teams, this is a lot of the job is just learning how your particular company or how your particular team manages tasks like this. So you'll learn about stuff like unit testing, all software methodology stuff. And you could be the best coder in the world, but if you can't write good documentation and if you can't kind of follow this process, then your team is going to hate you and you're going to get fired. So yeah. But I'll explain more of what I mean by I'll just share my screen. On Discord, if you just kind of hover over my name, it should say live. If you just click on that or the picture to the right of that, you should be able to open my stream and look at my screen. Oh, Ananya left. Let's see. Yeah, Ananya, are you able to get on, or is your computer kind of being annoying?
I finally figured out how to join from my computer. I joined from my phone, so it was giving me a headache. I'll check out the stream in one moment. It's
Yeah, no worries.
loading.
Yeah. I'll just draw some stuff while we're waiting.
Okay, yeah, I can see it now.
Nice. So you might have remembered this picture from the first coding lesson. I'll keep this brief because this is more conceptual stuff. But in computer science, what we could largely break the task down into, this is how I would describe computer science to someone who's never heard of it before. We have our code in the middle, which is like some black box. And then we have some inputs going into our code and some outputs that come out of it. And this is especially relevant for, it is basic, but it's very relevant for what we're doing now, because essentially what we're doing is for each of those individual tasks, so we have our big projects and we break it down into individual tasks, it's really important to define these inputs and these outputs for each task. Reason being is that I can work on, let's say, part 3 of the project. If I know exactly what my inputs are going to be, if I know exactly what the person who's working on part 2 is going to give me, then I can work with this and come out with an output. And if I define the outputs, then the person who's working on the next part 4, they can be confident working with their stuff. So I could have none of the code written, but if I could accurately describe, okay, my input is going to be 2 variables, say one is a string, one is an integer, and my output is going to be just a single string, then the person who works next to me, okay, I'm getting a string, I'm just going to assume your code works. I don't actually need to see the code to be able to do my, sorry, I'm getting so many emails. So yeah, this is basically just the idea of it. And when I talk about breaking our code into little parts, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the idea of functions in Python. But they basically look like this. You just write def and then the function name, and then in parentheses you separate all of the inputs, and then you could kind of use the inputs in your code, and then you return a certain value. So this max spacing and limitless, these would be the inputs of our function. This, all of the code itself, this would be the black box, and then this return intervals, the intervals would be the output. And so my documentation on this is pretty bad, but ideally you'd say that this is what's called a docstring in a function. It's just a elongated comment. It's just a lot of English. Ideally what you do is you'd say your input, okay, max is an integer, spacing is an array, limitless is a Boolean value, and then my output is going to be intervals, and you'd write all that over here. I could pull up an example real quick. This is some very, very official Mars research code. Should be in load PDS. Yeah, this explains it very well. The input is going to be your file name. You don't have to format it exactly like this, but this person does a very good job, and I'll zoom in a bit, of giving in of the actual variable name. So pause. The input is just going to be the file name, so he just has one input, and then the output is going to be each of these, and he describes all of them. You don't have to know any of the code to know how this function works, because the code is some complicated stuff. You don't need to know any of that to know that, okay, I just have to pass it this, and I could trust that it'll output this without having to look at any of the code. So yeah, with that out of the way, using this principle of task breakdown and coding, what I wanted to do, this doc is in the Albeta research folder, but I'll post it in chat. Or first of all, do you guys have any questions? Cool.
No, not so far.
Okay. And sorry, I didn't see your message about being back or having to go for a second. But yeah. If you guys want to open this doc that I just sent in the Discord, what I was hoping we could do is apply what I just taught you to our current project in order to come up, just brainstorm some functions or some ways of breaking down this big project into individual parts that are a little more manageable. Kind of divide and conquer strategy. So yeah. So first I think I'll define, or I'll show you guys what our overall code should do. So this is something I'll give you. Overall goal of our code. So I've been talking about like our code or our assignment a lot, but in terms of what we're actually doing, our input for this is going to be, let's say, a folder of netcdf files that are over the time period of a hurricane. That's going to be the input of our code. And then our, sorry, one second, I have to sneeze. Sorry. Okay. The output of our code is going to be a graph that looks something like this, where it's just going to be time. This looks a bit complicated, but it's just going to be time on the x-axis, and then percent of the land covered by clouds on the y-axis. It's going to be a plot like this that shows like, okay, over the course of a hurricane, you know, like we expect, hurricane means clouds, so as the hurricane goes on, we're going to see a lot more clouds, kind of disappears, we get more clouds, yeah. So yeah, these are the inputs and outputs of our code in general, of our program completely. But as you might see below, this is kind of, I'll write this down as a template. I want you guys to just kind of pipe up, either type it out directly or speak out, and just kind of think of ideas on individual functions that we could do to kind of go step by step from the folder to whatever, to whatever, to whatever, and then finally until the graph. So now the floor is open to you guys for either questions or ideas on functions that we could write. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, real quick, a couple of things that come to mind for, and I'll leave this template as it is.
Yeah, we want to do functions.
One, yeah. All right, so we have our function of, I'm not going to put a function name, but retrieve data from folder.
And keep in mind that the data is going to be stored in a Google Drive folder. So I started making these already. There's a hurricane data thing, and we're going to be working in Google Colab. So you're going to be, yeah, use that as you will. Okay. And you don't need to know everything for sure right now. Like you could do like to-do, look up how to pull Google Drive into Google Colab. That's perfectly fine. We're just looking for like broad strokes right now.
Yeah, I know there's a library or something. Like I think you have to mount.
Yeah,
I forgot.
perfect.
I worked in Colab a while. Yeah, okay. So so for description we'll just say gets access to netcdf files from um and I mean it's probably not going to be like this. I'm just going to say stores um file data in an array which is accessible to other functions. Um, so yeah, and then we have our input is um,
So here's a question I'll ask you guys. Do you think this function should take a folder or an individual file?
I think okay, so I'm just gonna just as I'm unmuted, it could be either. You could put, I mean, you could put it as, we can say instead of retrieve data from file, and we can say like in the beginning, once you first whatever launched a program, it asks you for a folder location. Then okay, we'll say input um, file from Google Drive folder, output, and then we'll do whatever array of netcdf data. So yeah, and then what we can, yeah, that's actually much better. I don't know why I was saying folder. Yeah, we could just like iterate through this for the entire folder.
Yeah, that works. So an array of netcdf data. So yeah. What is this
Yeah,
gonna
I don't know
mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how netcdf data is. I didn't really look into it too much and how it's formatted. Um, but somehow in there we're gonna have to either A, store it into an array, or B, store it into some other readable text file or something, which we can continuously access and update. But that's like to be decided.
Okay. I'm actually gonna launch Panoply real quick. Um,
So for our output, do we want a literal graph? Would that require I'm forgetting what it's called.
Starts with an M.
Uh,
Matplotlib.
Yeah, that one.
I was
No,
gonna say
but
something, but
we can't output a graph straight. I mean, you first want to retrieve data. I mean, you don't want to put everything under one function.
Yeah. Or
right.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
ideally you don't want to, or maybe, I mean, you can, but
Yeah, we're gonna make another
ideally you don't
function
want
for it. Yeah, but Ananya, you have the right idea. You probably meant that we were gonna put that later on, right? Like we're gonna make another function for graphing it. Um,
yeah, there's gonna be multiple functions together.
yeah. And you're right. Yeah, it is gonna be Matplotlib where we're gonna use that to answer your question. Sorry. Yeah, we are gonna make like a literal graph. Although we want the data as well. Although one function is probably gonna one function is gonna give us the data, another function is gonna graph the data. Um, so yeah, kind of preliminary results before we get our other stuff. But let me graph this real quick. I like this one. If you guys look at my screen real quick. So you might remember, what just happened? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I got stretched like that. If you might recall, it was kind of a while ago, but in Panoply, this is kind of how we visualize our netcdf files. You don't have to know the stuff I'm doing right now. Do not interpolate, scale, reverse colors. Yeah, this kind of looks more accurate. Where the white is clouds and the blue is ocean. So this is what the netcdf files look like. Each individual file is kind of a moment in time. So if you, it's kind of hard to see, but it's like 2012.292. 292 means out of 365 days in the year, this is the 292th day. 292th, that's how you say. And then this 202015, I think it's 20 hours, 20 minutes, and 15 seconds, but I might be wrong. It's something we'll define later on. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that each one of these netcdf files is a kind of snapshot in time. And the snapshot in time is a look through the satellite at the land. And this is a visualization, but if you actually look at the array, what the netcdf file itself is it's just like a 2D array of a ton of individual values that correspond to how bright each one of these pixels is. So panoply is just taking the value of this pixel and corresponding it to a brightness. Yeah. So hopefully, the reason why I'm showing this to you is hopefully this will give you a better idea of what our functions are going to be doing to actually look at this data, if that makes sense. So yeah. Any other ideas for functions? Or Ananya, if you want to write up that graphing function, you could go ahead and do that, or we could do that later. It's completely up to you. It doesn't matter. Because that's kind of near the end.
I'll write it up when I actually have an idea how to do so. But I had a question.
Yeah, go for it.
With the 2D array that we're given in the netcdf file, this is gonna sound weird, but like so I'm assuming like the rows correspond to like the x-axis.
Yeah, I think so. I
Like-
think X is longitude and Y is lat. Although it's I think it's like flipped. It's weird. If we kind of zoom in to the top left,
I thought the x-axis was. Oh, never mind.
yeah, it's annoying. It is a good question. I'm glad you're asking this question. That is a very good question. I still don't completely know the answer. But yeah, you could experiment with this on your own, and I don't think it's too relevant for our use case. It might be relevant later on, actually. We'll see. But yeah, good question. I'm sorry I can't answer fully.
It's all right.
Anything else?
So basically, the goal for our team or our sub team is to take the NDTDF file and make it into a graph.
Yeah.
Right.
It's yeah. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just this sub team individually. I'm kind of working with each sub team because you guys are going to be working together to work on the functions. But the purpose of, just to kind of step back, the purpose of this session is to kind of brainstorm some functions, some inputs, some outputs, kind of break down the task into manageable chunks. And then on Saturday, we're all going to come to, each one of the sub teams is kind of making one of these docs themselves. On Saturday, we're going to come together and kind of combine all the docs into one big kind of list of functions. And then from there, we're going to say, okay, you guys could start working on this, you guys could start working on this, once we have one idea of what we're all going to be working on. Yeah. But other than that, you're completely correct.
Okay.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
It's fine.
Wait, so the end goal for that graph is to find percent of North Atlantic covered, right? Or is that like a sample graph that we need to make, or is that like the final goal?
That's the final goal. Yeah, that's actually like
Alright.
the graph you should get for Hurricane Sandy. I went ahead and wrote it all up.
Should we create like a function that would automatically input the x and y values or something like that?
Into the graph?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean-
into a table that then we can just graph it later.
Yeah, we might not want to go into it. So this is where you might want to. We're going to do further. I wouldn't expect anyone to know right now because it's something you'll kind of learn as you go along. But the way we plot stuff with Matplotlib, that's something you're going to look up. So you're going to look up like, how do I make a line graph or a line plot with Matplotlib? And then you're going to learn like, okay, when we make a graph, like we don't really give it a table. We give it like arrays. You'll figure this out later on. But you have the right idea. Yeah, one function is going to be expressed for the purpose of, like Ananya was saying, just graphing the data we have.
Also real quick, what data are we given in the netcdf file? If you have that like on
What do
hand,
you
like what
mean?
are we given? We're just given like pixel values of like this is the brightness of this pixel and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the netcdf
Okay.
file itself, when you work within Python, is just going to be a massive 2D array of float values or integers.
Okay, and in that graph example or the graph you gave, threshold was 27 or 27,000. So we should keep like a similar type of threshold.
Yeah, this is something I want to. This is something I was going to explain to you guys. So when we actually let's say this is, I'll simplify the net CDF. When I say, I'll explain what I mean by threshold, because I realize I didn't explain that at all before now. Or I did a while ago, but I don't expect you guys to remember. I wasn't clear either. Let's simplify our, I'm curious, I forgot how big these are. These are 267 by 171 arrays. Let's simplify this to a 3 by 3 array. And instead of having like values in the thousands, let's just have like, I don't know, 18, 19, 4. I'm just making them dummy values. 0, 10, 28, 30, 8. Let's set something like this. Let's just pretend like this is a net CDF file that we're given. When this is kind of tying together what I mean by threshold and by percent of North Atlantic covered and the y-axis of the graph. What I mean by all of those, I'll explain with this process. So, and this is going to end up being one of our functions as well. What we're going to do to kind of determine the percent of the North Atlantic covered by clouds is we're going to say, okay, if each of these are values, we're going to set some threshold. And threshold, I don't even know if it's a scientific word. I kind of just made it up at some point. I started sticking with it. But our threshold is basically saying that, okay, anything above this value is a cloud and anything below isn't. So if we kind of look at our thing again, some of these are like, obviously, so like the white is obviously a cloud, the blue is obviously ocean, but the value in between isn't all that obvious. And you can kind of see on my graph, I chose some value, but you could choose any value. I'll leave it up to you guys to experiment with like pushing that value up or down. There is no one single right answer. You just have to have a reason for it that's like semi-reasonable. But yeah, come up with the threshold value, and you're pretty much going to say that, let's say our threshold value for this is 10, where I'm saying anything above 10 is a cloud, and anything below 10 is like water, I'll say, C and W. We're pretty much going to go through this, and we're going to say, okay, 18, this is a cloud, 19, I'll make them red. 18 is a cloud, 19 is a cloud, 4 is water, 5 is water, and you're basically just going to go over the entire array and make these distinctions. And then at the end, what you're going to say is, okay, so we have 9, when I talk about the ratio of clouds to water, I kind of just gave it away. We want to do cloud pixels over total pixels. So our total pixels is obviously 9 because we have a 3 by 3 array. And our cloud pixels is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this case, we'd say that if in this very simplified netcdf file, we'd have a percent cloud cover of 5/9, or whatever that simplifies down to as a decimal. And that would be our data point. So at whatever, let's say time for this was like December 1st. This would give us a single data point on our final graph where we have some time, December 1st. And then we have 5/9 over here. And this is going to give us a single point. And then we're going to go to our next time. Let's say instead of December 1st, December 2nd, all these values are going to be different. We're going to recalculate this cloud pixels over total pixels. And then that might give us like a lower value. And then it'll go down. And then next, it might give us a really high value. And we'll basically just repeat that over and over again until we get our final graph. I know that was a lot. Do you guys have any questions?
So if we're just doing it over and over again, it would be like would it be a while loop or actually they're interchangeable. It would be a loop, right?
Yeah, definitely. It would be a loop kind of going over all of the files we have. So I'll link this as well, the hurricane data folder. I think that's useful to have. And by the way, something that you want to think about, sorry, I'm throwing in more and more stuff every time. Expect it to be a little overwhelming at first. We're going to have a lot of time to work through this, like I said on Saturday. But in the actual data folders, it's going to be all of the bands. I ended up in each of these folders is literally bands 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 19. So there's something else you're going to want to do is that one of your inputs for one of your functions is going to be, okay, I want to look at band 1, or I want to look at band 3. Yeah, so you're basically just going to loop over all of the times for a band of your choosing, and then you're going to do the process that I talked about, if that answers your question. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, if we don't have any other questions, let's start. Oh my God, you guys have been going. That was Siobhan. Nice. Yeah. On the doc,
Oh
if
yeah.
yeah.
I just kind of it would just be I thought like I kind of once you said that it was just the pixel values, then we find the threshold. It was either A, we can go through every threshold value and see, and then calculate the ratio that way, but that might be a little bit. That's still completely fine. It would just be a little bit clunkier, I would say, like putting all that one function. So my idea was just to binarize it, just put a one wherever we have above the threshold, which is one means cloud and zero means no cloud. Um, and that kind of outputs this modified array of the original, whatever we got from a specific netcdf file. And then we use that modified array to um, calculate the ratio, which is pretty simple. And what we can do actually in this float output, store the ratio in a separate either dictionary or array. Probably going to be easier for an array for it to be read by a matplotlib, but yeah, it's the simple idea.
Yeah. I'm just gonna write graph data here. Just because you guys mentioned it before, we don't have to fill it out right now. But yeah, there's definitely a valid way of doing this. I've never seen the binarized thing before. Is that a word? I'm curious.
Yeah, I was doing other research, specifically for MIT, and the idea behind that was we're binarizing images to make them
Oh, for machine learning. Yeah,
like
that's cool. Or not machine
yeah
learning,
the
computer vision.
yeah it was for yeah we want to binarize. Well, it's okay. I'm not gonna explain the full thing, but yeah, we
This
were
thing.
binarizing images, so I kind of use the same terminology. I don't know if it applies completely, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just curious because that's a
Yeah.
funny word and it makes sense. I really hope that was a real word. I want to find a paper on binarizing data. That's cool. But yeah, there's definitely a valid approach. One thing that I'd say is that the binarizing step might be a little, although this will get you the correct result. You're creating a new array, or you're modifying that one array with the ones and the zeros. That might not be fully necessary. Um,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was just like it's just a way to make it cleaner, but obviously it could be 100% done without this step. That was just like a
yeah,
quick idea. But anyways, it doesn't need to be done.
yeah. I'll put in. Um, oops. Yeah, but it's good that you're thinking about it. So, like I said, the purpose of this is just brainstorming. We're not actually going to write any code today. An alternate idea would be just make cloud underscore pixel and total underscore pixel variable loop over array increment each um, as appropriate. Um, that's all I'll leave for now, but we'll define it more later on. Uh, um, so yeah. Um, sorry, my friend walked by. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, yeah, Ananya and Deborah. Yeah, or how are you guys following along so far? It's fine if you guys are behind. Shivam is actually probably a better programmer than me as well. So if you guys are confused, it's perfectly fine. Just let me know where you guys are at.
I understand the concept, but I feel like the problem is going to come when I actually have to program it.
Yeah, the programming is where it gets very, very messy. Oh, here. If it makes you feel any better, I'll tell you guys a funny little story. I don't know if I told you guys or if I told the last group. If I already told you guys, let me know. Over here, I said that, okay, we have a threshold where like a threshold that corresponds to each of the individual values in the netcdf array. I said that anything above this value is a cloud, anything below this is a water. I'm not sure if that's actually correct. It might be anything below that is a cloud. The direction of these arrows might be switched. And this is actually a massive source of headache for me because I was making all these graphs and they were upside down. Like over the course of the hurricane, there were less clouds. And I spent like, I think it was 2 weeks, like trying to figure out why I wasn't getting the results. Turns out I just had to flip the less than or equal to sign. So yeah, coding is it's a difficult process and it's very frustrating, but you get cool results, you get cool graphs. And it's what most research is nowadays. You guys will have a very cool thing to put on your GitHub when you're done with this. But yeah, Ananya, how are you holding up?
Binarizing the array had me like confused for a little bit. But I think I understand it. If we binarize the array, so if we say that all values above the threshold are 1 and all values below are 0, the
Yeah,
array that we put into the other function, is it going to be of 1s or 0s, or is it going to be all values above or below the threshold?
the array that we put into which function? Function 3?
Yeah, third one.
You're asking if we'd put
Takes
the
in the
binarized or the normal one, right?
right, because it says it will take in the binarized array, and the output is apparently a modified array. But is the modified array array of 1s and 0s, or is it an array of all values above the threshold?
So yeah, so 2 should take the normal array and return, or according to Shabab's thing, 2 should take the normal array and return a binarized array. And then 3 should take the binarized array and return just a single value. So like in our case, the value we got was 5/9. It shouldn't return an array. Does that make sense? Or it should return maybe a set of ratios, sorry. Meaning like like wait, no, I wrote on it, so I can't undo. Sorry. Let's say we have all these points on our graph. What he means by array is that probably December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So the time array would be a set of like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the y array would just be an ordered set of like all the y values.
Right.
Makes sense? Yeah. So it's like if we have the graph of like y equals x squared, the x array would be 1, 2, 3, and then the y array would be 1, 4, 9, and so on and so forth. So I think that's what he means by like when he's talking about the ratio array or ratio dictionary, I think he's referring to this, right?
Yeah. And the reason why I was thinking dictionary was in that dictionary we can put like what day it is and then what the ratio is. So that's kind of the key value pair. So the key would be, once again, not necessary. We could just do a 2D array for this. That's fine as well. But yeah, the idea is to have
Or a
two
2D array or a
values.
1D? Why would we use
We
a 2D
can
array?
you can do two 1D arrays as well. That's completely fine. Yeah. So as I was saying, one array for x, which is just the days, and then one array for y, which is the corresponding values or the corresponding ratios for that specific day. Um, yeah, that'll probably be cleaner and would be easier to work with.
Yeah.
So
Just as like a little hint,
yeah.
it's better to make two 1D arrays because that's how Matplotlib accepts them. But you'll see this as you
Yeah.
go up, yeah. And real quick, Ananya, if you want to explain or if you want to understand binarizing a little more, remember how we kind of did like if it's above a 10, then it's a cloud. So you put C for 18 and 19, but since 4 is below 10, we put water. Binarizing basically just means like, okay, instead of putting C, we put 1, instead of W, we put 0, and we just kind of continue like that, where all the W's become zeros and all the C's become ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff that you guys are doing. You probably have an idea. Do you guys understand, or any more questions between any of you guys, or concerns, or ideas, or anything really?
Not for me, no.
Okay. Yeah, I know it is a lot. Again, it's kind of overwhelming, but yeah, we'll work through it step by step. And if you guys have any questions, like, feel free to message me. Like, I love helping people with programming. Like, like I ask my friends to like help them with their coding assignments. Like I'll just message them like, "Yo, you got any coding homework you need help with?" It's fun for me. So don't ever feel bad about asking for homework help. Or not, sorry, not homework help, but that too. Coding help, I mean, yeah. Yeah. These are some good ideas that we have so far. We've broken this down. I think the other team broke it down into 3 or 4 functions as well. Getting the data from Google Drive. This one's pretty good. This one we seem to be a bit iffy on of how we're gonna do it. One thing that you want to do is that, yeah, the other team kind of forgot about this too. We want to make sure that we input a threshold for this one and the individual band that we're working with when we binarize the data, because we're binarizing, or we're kind of, I'll stop saying binary, we're classifying the data into clouds or waters based on if it's above or below a threshold. Actually, sorry, band shouldn't go here. Band should go in this one, because we only want data from whatever band we're choosing to focus on. So these are 2 like kind of small but essential things that'll come into play later on. One more thing is that of course, does it make sense to all of you guys how, I'll just ask you guys, how are we going to iterate over a 2D array?
Yeah.
I'm asking, like, do you know like the coding way to do it? I don't know
Oh
if they.
wait, sorry. It's wait, did you ask if I understand it, or did you ask me to explain?
Yeah, explain it. Well, like, do you know the word for going over a 2D array? Like, if you had to go through a 2D array, how would you do that?
So, it's funny because we just went over this unit in C++, but the way we, or at least I tried to do it for the labs I had, was through two nested for loops,
Perfect.
while loops to iterate through the array and create what I wanted it to do.
Yeah, perfect. That's what I was looking for. The idea, that's perfect. Yeah, the idea of a nested loop where one loop is going to go through this, and then the next loop is going to repeat that pretty much for every single individual line, and you're going to read through that. I just want to make sure that you guys understood like how to actually go through all of these and classify all of them as the 2 things. Yeah. So yeah, these are some really strong ideas. I'm really happy with how you guys are coming up with this. Yeah, we'll flesh this in more, and then we'll kind of work on individual functions. It looks a lot altogether, but when you look at one individually, it becomes a lot easier. This is why it's good to define your inputs and outputs, because all you have to focus on is, okay, I get this array and then I do this, or I have a folder and I want to get an array of this. So yeah, I think that's about it for us so far. Any other questions before we start to wrap things up? Or thoughts or anything at all? Cool. So I guess just to summarize everything, for the TikTok thing, you don't have to do anything, but just start coming up with ideas. Feel free to post stuff or inspiration or really anything in the TikTok server and the Discord channel. This is due next Monday. We're probably gonna have to scramble to get this done over the weekend, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. Just make a garbage video. I don't care much. Although if you guys want to put, oops, I'm not using no, don't worry about it. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We sorry, I'm rambling. I'm really tired. TikTok video. Yeah. If you guys want to put a lot of effort into it, by all means, go for it. I'll try and support you guys. Like, if one of you guys wants to like script it all out and like video edit and stuff, like I'll support you guys 100%. I'll put as much effort as you guys want to put into it. Just don't expect me to come up with any great ideas. Yeah, so that's all for the TikTok. For the actual coding, I know you guys, again, thank you guys for coming out on such short notice on a Monday night. All of us are having quite busy, hectic days. You guys don't have to do anything over the course of the week. Feel free to think about the problem. If you want to start looking into like Google Drive mounting or netcdf files in Python or matplotlib, feel free to look that up, like watch a YouTube video or just learn around. It's not required, but if you're interested. If you want to go as far as to code stuff up in Google Colab, by all means, go for that as well. We're going to have a meeting on Saturday where we all meet. Like I said, we're going to put together, each team is making these documents. We're going to put that all together into one big document of all of our functions where we explicitly define the function name, the description of what the function does, the inputs and the outputs. And then once we do that, then we could actually start coding out the functions and slowly putting it all together, unit testing and stuff like that. And hopefully in like a couple of weeks, we'll have our final product. And yeah, um, cool. Anything else before we head out?
No, I think that's it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I
Deborah said
was
that's fine.
gonna ask if we should set up I mean, it doesn't have to be like very strict, but like a quick like schedule on how we're gonna make the TikTok video.
What do you mean a schedule?
So like by this date, like have like an idea fleshed out. By this date, have recordings done, and by this date, have it edited,
Oh,
ready to.
that'd be a good idea. I was just kind of wing it last second, but that's a good idea. Hopefully, we'll have meetings by the end of Saturday, and then Sunday we'll do recording and editing. Does that sound good or no? I'm just kind of making stuff up. Or do you want to do stuff
Yeah,
for that?
I could do the editing again.
yeah, I can help with the editing too. Okay, how about we put like inspo into the TikTok chat until like this Friday or Saturday.
Yeah,
And then
Zane and I will come up with deadlines on I want to say tomorrow night we'll have deadlines.
Yeah, we'll meet with all the teams by tomorrow night, and then we'll start talking about our next step. So look out for an announcement and email as well. Oh, and are you guys happy with like the Discord announcements and the emails? Does that work out fine for you guys?
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, if you guys have any feedback, again, like feel free to give it to us. I'm trying to make it as fun for you guys as possible and as learning, education oriented. I don't know. But yeah, that's about it. If you have any mess or have any concerns or questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll post a recording of this probably tonight, tomorrow night, and then it'll be only viewable to you guys. I'll post it on YouTube and I'll send a link in this channel. But that's about it. Yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. Thanks again for your time on a Monday night, and uh, see you guys later. Bye
Thank you. Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
bye. Bye bye.